So you run meetings, you got people that sometimes dominate meetings, you got people that sometimes interrupt at bad times, you got people that fall asleep in your meetings. How to deal with these people. First of all, I want to say something about the sleepers. I don't want people sleeping in my meetings. I don't want to see them dozing in my meetings. I don't want to see their heads going like this in my meetings. If they're in my meeting, then it's a necessary meeting, and they're there because it pertains to them. I'm not asking them to go to meetings that are not important to them, which, by the way, if you're doing that, we'll deal with that in another video, but you're asking for real problems for the meetings. Have necessary people there at necessary meetings, okay? Now I have the expectation of full attention, and I want that from them. If it happens once, I talk to them afterwards, and I say, hey, what's going on? Can I help? Did you have a bad night? I noticed that you were dozing. I can't just let it go. I've got to address the behavior, because falling asleep or dozing in meetings or the head bobbing up and down or whatever, those are behaviors that need to be addressed, because these are important meetings I've called them to, and they're pertinent to these meetings. If it happens habitually, I've got to get down to it, and I've got to bring about behavior change, and we do that in the ways that I've shared in videos, a number of these videos. We make sure we get correction on that behavior, because sleeping or dozing can be somewhat excused once if somebody had a bad night or whatever, and I want to say, and so my approach will be, hey, let me help, what's going on? But as a continual behavior or something that has any consistency at all, that really bothers me, because I'm only going to have necessary meetings, and I'm going to have the necessary people there, and I want and expect their attention and participation. Now, when it comes to dominators and interrupters, I've got a rule of thumb, and that is, if I can advance, if something minor is going on that's somewhat intrusive, but I'm able to advance the agenda, then I talk to them afterwards, because I believe for the most part, it's smart to criticize in private and praise in public. In other words, if I'm going to say something nice about you, screaming from the mountaintops, as I've said in other videos, if I have something to criticize you about, that's something that we would do that in private. So for the most part, I like to do this in private. So if it's a minor intrusion and I can advance the agenda, then I wait, I talk to them afterwards. If, however, the disruption is to a point where I cannot advance the agenda in the timeline that I need to for that meeting, then I will address them right there. So, yeah, the rule is criticize in private and praise in public, but they've chosen public to act up. So in public, I can now reprimand them. I can just say, look, I appreciate your participation, and I certainly want your thoughts and ideas, but it's not that kind of participation we're looking for, and you're being disruptive, and you're not allowing us to carry this meeting on the way we need to. So I'm willing to, depending on the situation, depending on what they're doing, I'm willing to address it right there. So again, the rule of thumb is, if I can advance the agenda, I let that go for the moment, talk to them afterwards about a change of behavior. If I am not able to advance the agenda in a proper timeline, then I address it right there and say, look, we can't have that. We need to, we need to really have a great meeting here, and that's not allowing us to do that. So again, all three are sleepers, interrupters, or dominators, all really important parts of what sometimes people do in meetings that we must change so that we have the best meeting possible for every participant.